What are your priorities for 2025? What are your financial priorities for 2025? And do you have any finance resolutions? It is that time of year where many of you say, okay, it's time to get my financial house in order. New year, and resolutions for 2025. Let's talk about what your priorities and perhaps your resolutions should be when it comes to your wallet. Douglas Hoyes joins us now, personal finance expert and host of Debt Free in 30, the podcast. Thank you, Douglas, for coming on the show.
Good morning, Elias.
So, how do you is this something for you, January 1st every year, New Year, that you say, okay, now's the time to talk about this? How do you view January 1st?
Yeah, I don't believe in January 1st. I know it's a real thing, but I don't believe in it. I think you should live every day pretty much the same. But let's face it, psychologically, a new year starts and we have a period over the Christmas holidays where I'm not working. I got a bit of time to think. I can tell you in my business, I'm a licensed insolvency trustee. Our phone has been ringing off the hook for the last few days since people got back, because having had time to ponder, it's like, okay, what do I got to change? If I wasn't happy with what happened last year, what do I got to change about this year? And so, yes, it's a natural time for people to be having all of these thoughts.
What are the stories you keep seeing over and over and over that you think for our listeners should be on top of mind for them?
Well, this will come as no surprise to anyone. When I talk to people, I say, so what's going on? They go, well, everything costs more. That's what's going on. And yeah, you look at the official statistics, and we can go into the conspiracy theories of whether they're right or not, but the official stats show that the price of food at the grocery store is about 25% higher than it was 4 years ago. So unless your paycheck is 25% higher, you are falling behind. That's just simple math. And you can look at other costs as well, but that's something everybody sees. So when my costs are going up more than my income, what do I do? Like, well, what's the answer? Well, I try to get more income, but my boss isn't going to give me a raise. I try to cut my expenses, but I still got to eat. I still got to live somewhere. So how do you make up the difference? Debt. And when you look at the stats in Canada, credit card debt is at the highest level it's ever been, and it's been going up for years and years. We had a bit of a drop during the pandemic period, but it's way back and higher than ever. So once you incur debt, now you're even in more trouble, because not only am I paying all my living expenses, but now I got to pay the debt payment and the interest payment. So that's what's really squeezing people. It's the cost of living, and they've bridged the gap by turning to debt.
Can I ask you about the housing part of that? Because it's, the cost of housing has gone through the roof. Montreal is a great example. If you look at the average cost of an apartment 10 years ago versus today. And then I think about, the people who, maybe they have a mortgage and they signed that mortgage 3-4 years ago. A renewal is coming up where it will be a monthly payment at the end of the day. How do you view that? Do you view that as a ticking time bomb on, Canadians' finances, Canada's economy?
Absolutely. That's huge. And you're right. There are people right now who have a mortgage at maybe 1.5%, 2%. But when it comes up for renewal, it might be, who knows, 4%, 5%, 6%, depending on where the rates are, what terms they pick, and so on. So I talk to a ton of people who say, yeah, my mortgage payment has gone up by $1,000 a month. And I think if you're in a place like Vancouver or Toronto where the prices are even higher, it's even worse. But Montreal is a good example of that as well. So, okay, again, my question, has your after-tax income gone up by more than $1,000 a month? And it has to have, because it's not just your mortgage payment, it's your groceries and everything else. So what happens? You get a lot of people who are going to say, you know what, maybe when the mortgage comes up for renewal, I can't afford it, I'm going to have to sell the place. And I guess that's great for people who want to get into the housing market, because maybe that will depress prices and make it a little easier to get in. Maybe that will help with rental costs, because that lowers the cost of everything. But there will also be some people who were right on the edge before. Maybe they bought their place with 5% down.
Yeah.
And now when they go to sell it, they can't even get enough money to pay off the mortgage after paying for the selling costs. That's not something we've had to deal with for the last 10 years, because prices, it's always up, 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 up. So yes, I absolutely agree that that's a ticking time bomb. And I think that'll be a story for the middle of 2025. It's certainly getting worse.
We're with Douglas Hoyes. He's author of Straight Talk on Your Money. And we're talking about some 2025 finance resolutions and priorities. Okay, I wonder, Douglas, if you see that there's almost like a two Canadas brewing. Because I look at some surveys, like I look at a CIBC survey, And a lot of Canadians are like, you know what? I can weather a storm. Even if we have a bit of a mini recession, I'll be able to weather that. Finance is okay. I'm going to pay down debt. But then I see some other indicators that seem quite stark and dire. You've outlined a couple of them. How do you view it?
You're absolutely correct. That's exactly right. There are two Canadas. So if you owned something, a house, stocks, crypto, whatever it was, inflation has been great because it makes the prices go up. So you're fine. Okay, I got to pay more at the grocery store, but my house is worth $200,000 more, so I'm not too worried about it. Whereas if you don't own anything, you didn't own a house, you didn't have money in the stock market, you didn't benefit from that gain, so you haven't received the benefit, but you've suffered the cost. Inflation is a huge tax that people are paying. So if you're one of those people who owns a house or stocks, it's like, yeah, I don't know what everyone's complaining about. Everything's fantastic. But if you're the renter who's paying more, absolutely, you're the ones getting hammered. And those are the people who are in the most serious problems right now. Those are the people who are resorting to debt to bridge the gap.
Douglas, listen, we have a text line here, and we get comments as we do interviews. And I got a note here from Brian. He sent me a question. I think I should ask you this, right? Because we were talking about Canadians wanting to pay down debt, right? You got to pay down some debt. So he asked this: would you recommend taking $5,000 to $10,000 from an RRSP savings, right? And of course, there'll be a little bit of a hit there if you try and take out money from the RRSP to help pay down a credit card balance? What would you say to that question?
I would say crunch the numbers. So if you're in the 50% tax bracket, then yes, you take money out of your RRSP. You're losing half of it right off the bat. Maybe it would be better just to cut your expenses and get that credit card paid off over the next few months. But if you're in a lower tax bracket than that and your credit card interest rate is 20%, then, yeah, Brian might be on to something. You're going to have to pay more in taxes, but if it's going to take you a long time to pay off that credit card, it might be better to take the hit. The other option that a lot of people look at, and let's take a more extreme example where I've got $100,000 in my RSP, but I got $50,000 worth of credit card debt. Yeah. Okay, you don't really want to get hit with the taxes and then lose your RSP. The other option is a consumer proposal where you go to your creditors and say, look, I'm going to keep my RSP, but I need a break on the debt. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. So for a situation like that, you want to talk to a licensed insolvency trustee, have them crunch the numbers, because the answer isn't exactly the same for everyone.
Gotcha. Douglas, to wrap up here on what you view as maybe some priorities here. And we outlined the two different types of Canadians. And I'm thinking about those people that it seems like, well, the only thing that's going to help them is serious policy changes by the government, but so what would you recommend to anyone who maybe feels like there's nothing I can do? My salary isn't going up. I can't do anything. What's your advice to those people?
Well, I wouldn't be waiting for the government to solve your problems because we don't even have a government at the moment. So that's not going to solve your problems for you. So I think all you can do is what you can do. So can I pick up a few extra hours at work? Can I do a side hustle? Can I cut my expenses a bit? Everyone's already doing it, making food at home, taking the bus, whatever. I think you got to squeeze out every dollar you can, and you want to throw that money at your highest interest rate debts first, your credit cards, any kind of high interest loans. That's where you get the most bang for the buck. It's not easy, but that's pretty much what you got to do.
Douglas, you got a great voice. Thank you for adding it to this show. I appreciate it.
Great to talk to you. Thanks, Elias.
Douglas Hoyes, he's a personal finance expert, and his podcast is called Debt Free in 30.